Welcome to the life you crave. Simple and sustainable weight loss for women who have better things to do than diet. I'm your host, Leah Pinelli. I help ambitious, badass women stop overeating, overworking, and overgiving to lose weight from a place of love. I'll help you simplify weight loss, end your overwhelm, and create the life you crave. If you like what you hear, please like and subscribe to this podcast. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the Life You Crave podcast. You guys, you are in for such a treat today. I know I say this every time I have a guest, but really this time, such a treat. Today, I have on the show the beautiful and brilliant and amazing Robyn Eckersley. She is my friend and colleague. She successfully navigated a major career pivot in 2016 as a certified professional coach, supporting high-performing women navigating their own career transitions. Her clients have gone on to launch thriving new business ventures, step into healthier work environments, form deeper relationships with themselves and with others, significantly improve healthy mental and emotional behaviors, and cultivate an ongoing deep sense of fulfillment, direction, and purpose in life. Creator of the Design Your Why workshop series, the Expand method of self-improvement and personal reinvention, and You've Got Next, which is a program designed specifically for elite female athletes navigating retirement from competitive sport. In short, Coach Robyn has been successfully empowering high-performing women to thrive through major life transitions since 2016. Robyn, thank you so much for coming on the Life You Crave podcast today.
Leah, I am so pumped to be here. I love your podcast. And of course, we are very good friends. And I know this conversation is just going to be a joy to have. So thank you so much for having me here.
It is going to be a joy to have. Now, I don't want you guys to think that she's on the podcast because she's my good friend. She's on the podcast because she's freaking brilliant. And we have a message for you today that honestly it's something that's been coming up a lot in my work with my clients, right? So Robyn, I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but one of the things that I have held, a practice of mine that I have had ever since I started my journey, specifically my stop overeating journey, as I call it, which did result in 30 pounds of weight loss. But I had a vision for myself, right? Like I didn't feel at home in my body. And I had this vision, like for all intents and purposes, it was, just kind of like a natural, I had this vision of myself as like, this is not who I am. And I feel like I am supposed to be somebody else. I'm supposed to, not only did I feel like I was supposed to be kind of living in a different body, but I was supposed to have different behaviors with food. I shouldn't say supposed to, but I just felt like this isn't right. There's something.
Yes, it wasn't a match.
It wasn't a match. Exactly. And I also felt like, as you know, I didn't feel like quite at home in my career and all kinds of aspects of my life.
Yeah.
One of the things that that I've been coaching women to stop overeating and really create the lives they crave for the last, well, my gosh, we're almost at 2024. So for the last 6-7 years, one of the things is I've noticed certain clients they kind of get stuck and they're consistently continuing to struggle with food and weight. And so I really had to do a deep dive reflection for myself. Like, okay, well, what was it about me and my experience that's different from this particular set of clients? And what do I see has been different for clients who've been very successful? And what I came to realize is that I always was driven by a calling, a vision to be different, to be someone different, not completely reinvented, but just different from who I currently was being. Yeah. And so the work, I've been really shifting my current work with clients to make that more explicit, right? Like you guys, I'm not just like, so I've always taught my clients to create a vision of their future selves, always, but I haven't really leaned into it because I was taking it for granted. It's like that, expert blindness, right? Where like, you don't realize, this was such an important part of my success And when I realized it, I've been pivoting back now to clients, especially clients who have been resistant to pivoting and been like, dude, you guys, you really have to do this part.
Yeah.
So that is definitely why I wanted to have you on the show today, and why you and I are doing a free workshop together. So you guys,
yes,
TLYC Social Club. Yeah, TLYC Social Club and Masterclass coming up December 14th at 4 p.m. Pacific. Robyn is our guest speaker. She is doing a straight up training with you all. So if this episode resonates with you, and I hope it does, I really hope at the end of this podcast, you're like, oh my God, I need a vision. Come to the TLYC Social Club on December 14th at 4 p.m. Pacific. You can sign up at leahpinelli.com/TLYC social. That will also be in the show notes. And you can also just go to my website and click on the link for the social club. Sign up. You got to register. It's free. And Robyn is going to be going in more in depth for what we're talking about today. But this is a very long-winded way of saying, Robyn, that the reason I wanted you on the show is because the power of vision, it's not just a nice to have. It's actually fundamental to your shifting your behaviors with food, with, body image, with your entire life. So that's a really long way of saying, you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's so many things about your journey as you were speaking into it that were just resonating with me and the path that I've walked up to now. Every single person who is alive today has experienced several transformations, whether they realize it or not. Sometimes we get so in the routine of living our life as it is today that we don't recognize, wait a minute, I have changed. I have made moves in my life. I have become the next evolved version of me throughout my life. Sometimes we don't always call attention to it and call it out and celebrate it because we're just busy on to the next one, or we're just kind of like caught in the routine of today's life, with today's version of us. And having a vision helps you move into being led by like your North Star. I like to use the term North Star as like your compass to move you forward into the life that you want, into the body that you want, into the experience of health that you want, let alone all these other areas. Like most of my clients come to me because they desire professional transitions. Now, some of them are getting away from toxic work environments, from toxic behaviors, from leaving situations that were not serving them anymore or they've outgrown. So they're used to the I'm moving away from something I don't want experience. The vision helps you switch out of that into a more sustainable path of moving towards something. Running away from something and running towards something are two very different energies. One is way more expansive and way more, sustainable. Because in this world, especially in health, I'm sure you and your clients see this, Leah, that motivation and drive and recommitting to new behaviors, new ways of thinking takes energy, right? And if we're using a less sustainable method of pursuing transformation, like I don't want to feel this way, I don't want to look this way, I don't want my body to be incapable in this way anymore, that'll get you going, but it won't keep you going necessarily. It's not designed to be a wholly sustainable energy. But if we're moving towards something, we're being pulled toward a beautiful vision, that stuff can go. That's where the real mileage is. Yeah. That's where we don't have to worry around motivation as much. That's where we don't have to worry around, do I really want this or whatever? That becomes more non-negotiable when you have a really juicy vision that is just your own, that you get to be so in love with, that every single day you're like, I'm going for it. I'm going for it. It's non-negotiable.
I absolutely love that, Robyn, because I love what you're saying about that, because that energy, for me, when I think about my vision and where I am going, I mean, even to this day, so even though I'm no longer trying to heal my relationship with food, for example, I'm no longer trying to solve for that, like that has been solved for. I now have a vision for my career, my impact, my family, my relationships, right? So we have these visions expand beyond, right? Just this one facet of our life.
Yeah.
And when I think about it, for me, it's so fun to think about where I'm going. It's so fun to dream and imagine and be, like you said, pulled by that. Because then every day I get to wake up and I get to like live into this fun, happy energy, right? Or whatever the energy is for you. Versus, and this is where most of us come from when it comes to body dissatisfaction, is looking at yourself or feeling yourself and thinking, I hate this. I don't want this.
Yes.
Right.
Isn't it the fight against it?
Yeah. So then your day is just literally like the energy of your day is an energy of unhappiness, disgust, dissatisfaction versus an energy of, like you said, this kind of excited might not be the right word, but enthusiastic expansion about where your life is going. It is a completely different way of living. Now, let me ask you this though. I have one client actually in particular right now who has said, thinking about my vision makes me feel sad because she immediately thinks about where she is now and how far she feels like she is from her vision. What would you say?
Yes. One, that's completely normal. And that happens literally all the time. So for this particular client, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not doing this poorly or you're doing it wrong or anything. This is completely just part of the process that happens when we start to entertain a vision. We start to notice there's a gap naturally. The gap that we have between who we are and the life we have today, including our experience of health and our experience of our bodies today, are going to be fundamentally different than they are in the vision. The reason you have a vision around those things is because that's where you are being led to grow into. So of course, today's experience is going to be different than vision experience. Of course, you're not there yet. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in your vision, right? If it was already in your life, you wouldn't be visioning around that piece being changed, right? So first of all, normalize the fact that, of course, there's a gap. Here's where we get to decide, how do I want to feel about that gap? Do I want to see the gap and experience lack in terms of, I have so far to go, I'm not there yet, oh my gosh, look at all the stuff that has to change? That's going to be super disencouraging, right? That's not going to be motivating. And what we want to start building is an expectation that this is yours to claim. It's not, and this is huge in the health industry, especially these days, and especially for generations before, where the focus is on, here are all the things that you're doing wrong. Here are all the things about you that you need to fix in order for society to accept you, to think that you're attractive, to think that you have value. It's a very much like finger wagging kind of, you're doing this wrong and you're not measuring up.
Totally.
Like very shaming, and very kind of condescending too. Really patronizing in a lot of ways. That is so common in today's, especially health industry, that we're kind of used to, if I want to change something about my body, I'm kind of supposed to feel badly about my current body. And then I'm only allowed to feel happy in it if I hit certain metrics, like there's a certain number on the scale, there's a certain dress size that I'm wearing. And honestly, like, pardon my French, but that's total bullshit. That's complete bullshit. The vision.
I'm with you there, sister.
I know you and I like vibe on so many different levels, especially with this kind of stuff, because the idea of you are not allowed, you do not have permission to be happy and healthy unless you hit certain metrics and certain shapes and whatnot with your body is completely outdated, but it's also missing the mark. The vision helps you to understand, what does my life look like as this different experience of me? Now, my body is the one thing that gets to come with me through this life until the day that I die. It's the one thing that we're given. It's the one thing that we get for the entirety of our lives. Right. And so for us to go through our life beating up on it and nitpicking and critiquing and injecting all of this constrictive, shaming energy into it. You and your body, the only two things that you get through this lifetime, what kind of ride through this life do you think you're going to have? This is like a road trip from hell. Why would you do this?
It really is. Well, and I love that you said, it's like, it's totally normalized. I have this conversation with clients all the time. It's like, we think that in order to, I love how you were talking about sustainable change, right? Because we think that in order to change our bodies, i.e. lose weight, right? Like, let's just call it what it is. That's what most people are after. In order to lose weight and keep it off, I have to have this sustaining energy. I have to have motivation for the rest of my life to do this. And then with the messaging that we get from our, kind of this dominant diet culture, even as health culture, right, is that you have to suffer, right? No pain, no gain, right? You have to suffer in order to get there. And I always tell my clients, I'm like, first of all, that's total BS. It's the opposite is true. Because we are hardwired for pleasure. So if we're hardwired for pleasure, why on earth do we think that sustaining pain is going to be the way to live? Like, we are biologically programmed to do the opposite. You're working against yourself. You're working against your nature and your biology. Yeah. And the analogy I often use with clients is like, okay, look, I'm from San Francisco. And I used to say, to clients, they'll say they're in San Francisco. I said, look, I can love San Francisco. I do. I freaking love that city with all my heart. I can love living in San Francisco. I'd move back any day if you just gave me a few $1 billion to live on, because it's an expensive city, right? But I love that city. I can love San Francisco and also want to move to Hawaii.
Yes.
Right? Like, yes. I don't have to hate San Francisco in order to motivate myself to move to Hawaii. Yes. And nobody would ever think that. Like, you don't have to hate where you are in order to still want to create expansive change in your life. Okay, now I'm going to pause there for just a second. By the way, you guys, Robyn and I could talk forever. In fact, we do.
Yes, I know.
It's not like you just have to bear with us. But can you talk a little bit about, you use the term expansion, and now I just used it. You and I use this term all the time.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit, because I'm imagining I have listeners that are like, what does she mean by expansiveness or expansion?
Yeah. Sure. So we typically talk in terms of expansion and constriction, because a lot of times we use words that are more judgment assessing, like good, bad, positive, negative. I want to help shift the narrative to, is this an expansive situation, decision, move, way of thinking, versus is this constrictive? Essentially, in a nutshell, is it growth oriented or is it stuckness oriented? Is it keeping you small, keeping you contained? And part of that shaming energy, that whole finger wagging, you're doing it wrong, you need to fix all these things about your body, total constriction. Yeah. Total constriction. You can feel it when you hear probably the internal voice around, oh my gosh, like, I'm carrying around a few extra pounds, like, I can't fit into this dress anymore. It's this whole, like, you are doing it wrong. You are not enough. Yeah. You are not acceptable in some kind of way. Total constriction. It you can feel it start to kind of like squish you, start to keep you into a little box.
Yes.
Whereas expansion and expansive thoughts, expansive behaviors, expansive conversations with yourself and others, these are more growth oriented. Where do we go from here? There's a momentum and a forward motion behind it. Yes. So now we're not either being stuck and kind of beaten into the ground of like, oh, here are all the things that you're doing wrong, and here are all the things that I have to change. It's a lot of push energy, a lot of like effort into constriction. Expansion is, how can I grow? And you can think of like either a wave rolling or like a beautiful vine crawling up a wall, right? Yeah. It's more forward momentum, is growth oriented. So we're moving from here. Like you said, you don't have to hate where you are to be moving forward.
Yeah.
But a lot of times people think that that's the only way to get people to change. And, full disclosure, change does happen when we beat up on ourselves.
Yeah.
But that, gosh, if I had a choice of stepping into the life, body experience of health that was of my dreams. And I could choose either, do I want someone beating up on me to get myself there, to get there?
Yeah.
Or would I love to enjoy this ride and feel so great every step of the way?
Yeah.
I'm choosing the latter every single minute of the day, right? And that's the expansion. But that can be it can feel difficult to access if we're used to constriction.
Totally.
If we're used to saying, you're not allowed to eat this, you're not allowed to do this, you should feel bad about yourself because you looked this way in this photo.
Yes.
Right? That's only going to get you so far. And it's going to kill your spirit in the meantime. Like, no, thank you. I'm not signing up for any of that stuff. No. It can feel the idea of expansiveness and the idea of having a vision to expand into can feel super unfamiliar, and it can even feel really unsafe.
Yeah, scary.
Which is, super scary, because it's like, well, if I'm not pushing myself to change anymore, then I'm going to just coast and I'm going to slack, and all the progress I have made is just going to go out the window.
That's everybody said. You're like, oh my God, if I feel good, then I'm just going to go stuff my face with Oreos.
Mm-hmm.
But the opposite is true.
Either way.
Yes,
absolutely. Exactly. So, and the thing is, because it's really unfamiliar and it's not very normal for people to grow and to talk about their growth in that way.
Yeah.
This is why it's so important for things like this masterclass, for things like the services that you and I provide, because you're not meant to do this alone, and no one's expecting you to know how to vision right away, especially when the rest of society is nitpicking at you saying, you need all these supplements, you need all these diseases, you need to lose all this weight.
I know. I think about how much money how much money we as women, I mean, I know the numbers are out there, it's billions and billions and billions of dollars, but how much money we as women spend trying to solve this problem.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But ultimately,
because you treat it as a problem in the first place.
Exactly. As if there's a problem to solve. Yes.
Yes.
And if I just pour more money into diets or supplements or, whatever it is, I will solve this problem once and for all. But especially if you just look at if the underlying, I'm going to use this term energy. And for my listeners, when we talk about energy, we're really talking about that vibration of what you're feeling. Mm-hmm. And when you think about, for example, the energy, like walking into a room where two people have been arguing, you don't necessarily have to have heard the argument to feel the energy of tension in the room. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about energy. And so really thinking about, this industry and how much money we've spent, and what we're really trying to do is change how we feel. And I don't want to discount that like on my journey, I wanted to feel at home in my body. And that did have a certain physical component to it. But the feeling that I was looking for was a sense of alignment, right? Alignment with who I am and who I'm being, and then how I'm acting.
Yeah. Yeah. We get so much messaging that you're only allowed to be a certain kind of person, meaning you need to look a certain way, you need to fit into a certain kind of dress size, you need these metrics measuring your body inside and out in order for you to be allowed to be happy or to be who you really are, essentially. And it's that paradigm is so, so deeply embedded in diet culture, in the health industry. And it's thankfully there are more voices kind of speaking into how that's not true. But just to kind of give listeners a little bit of a little bit of a cosmic hug here, saying if that's where you're at, of course you're there because you've been saturated with all of this messaging of not good enough, or like, I need to look a certain way or have a certain number on the scale before I'm allowed to like myself. Yeah. Before I'm allowed to kind of like check myself out in the mirror, before I'm allowed to be considered attractive. Yeah. Et cetera, et cetera. So for those of you who are struggling with this kind of like, I have to beat myself up because I'm not this. The only reason you think you need to be something else, unless you've done the work like Leah has to really look internally and say, this is not, I don't feel at home. I know this isn't me.
Yes. This isn't an alignment.
We get so many messages on the external side saying, here are the reasons we all have to change. And that doesn't necessarily have to be true.
And I want to say, just because I know that when I was not feeling great in my body and with my eating behaviors, there is a lot of messaging that's about like, just learn to love yourself as you are. And I think that's important because I just talked about San Francisco and Hawaii and how you can love both and also still, want to. But I also just want to acknowledge that you can love yourself as you are and still want to change something about who you're being. And so, but the point that you're making, Robyn, that I really want to underscore for people is that loving yourself actually causes you to take different action. So putting yourself into a place of love and putting expansion and vision, it actually will align then with a different set of actions than the ones that you're currently taking that can and often do result in what it is that you've been after all this time.
Yeah, exactly.
So what would you say to people who are, besides you should just come to the masterclass on December 14th at 4 p.m. Pacific, because we are going to be diving into this exactly, helping you to really start to craft a vision for yourself with Robyn, who's obviously going to be there, master vision coach, and I will be there too, of course. But what would you say to somebody who's listening right now and they're like, oh my gosh, like I'm listening to this in 2024. I didn't get to go to the December 14th event. Like how does somebody even get started with this kind of work?
Notice where you're looking to. I'm rephrasing because I'm staying away from the woo. I can dive real deep into the woo really quickly.
Yeah.
So there are two signals that we can keep an eye out for when we're first starting to vision. One is discontent. Where are you feeling discontent? Like Leah said before, where are you feeling just the version of me right now moving through my life? I feel like there's just a disconnect there from where I would rather, like I would feel so at home in. Yes. And I know I'm supposed to be like just a different version of me. It's okay if it's super vague at this point. Most people are very just vague when they start this visioning journey. Notice where you're feeling discontent. That's one of the signals. The other one is keep an eye out for desire, where you're feeling really drawn to, ooh, I would really love that. Oh my gosh, I would love it if my body felt X, Y, and Z. I would love it if I was able to do, A, B, C. So we're looking at two pieces to kind of get the vision rolling. Where are you feeling discontent in your life? And where would you feel a sense of desire? Here's where I want to move to or toward. Now, with the discontent, that's probably more accessible. For most people, the discontent is, I don't like this. Like, I don't want to feel this anymore. So follow that up after you notice where the discontent is. Follow that up with asking the question, so what would you love instead? The word instead can be remarkably powerful if we let it lean into the context, because we're used to saying, no, this is bad. I'm judging myself about this. This isn't good enough yet. I'm not this weight on the scale yet. Like your client earlier, I haven't stepped into my vision yet. And so I'm feeling super sad. Instead of focusing on what's not there yet, shift into expansion by asking, okay, you don't want this. What would you love instead? And play in that imagination space. You get to make it up any way you want to. If you could just magically wave a wand, right? And then all of a sudden you had a different experience of health, whatever that means to you, what would you love to populate that image or that movie scene of your life with? How are you feeling? What are you doing? How are you engaging with other people? How do you feel when you walk by a mirror? What would you love the internal conversation to be as soon as you catch a glimpse of yourself as you're leaving the bathroom and you're washing your hands in a beautiful restaurant, you're going back down to dinner and you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror? What would you love to be the first thought in your mind?
So, Robyn, I'm imagining. I'm imagining I'm one of my listeners right now, I love you all my listeners. I love you. I'm imagining I'm one of my listeners and I'm thinking to myself, okay, and actually I've had clients say this to me. What would I love? Well, I would love to be able to eat whatever I want and weigh 30 pounds less. I would love to be able to, have my 20-year-old body back. Now, both of those things in the 3D might not actually be possible, right? Like if you're 55 and you're yearning for your 25-year-old body again, like literally.
Well, here's the thing. Sometimes what happens when we get into visioning is we start to look back on when was it really good in my life? Like when was I happier? We start to compare today's version of us with past version of us. I encourage you, instead of looking backwards, which is biologically completely normal because we're going through our database of reference material of our memories, right? So of course the brain is like, oh, well, let me kind of like sift through what files we already have on this. And let me bring that up. Oh, when you were 28, girl, you got banging bod. Let's go back to that.
Right. Totally.
Instead of, I want to go back to that body.
Yeah.
We want to say, what was it about that experience? Go a little bit deeper. It wasn't just about whatever weight you were or whatever shape you were. There was something else happening where that memory and that experience was noted as fun, as happy, as fulfilling, as confident, right? There are other things other than the metrics, meaning weight and shape, basically, when I speak to that metrics, that stuck in your mind as these were the good days. So harvest from that memory. What was it about that time? It wasn't just about the way you looked.
Yeah.
There's something else there.
Irony there is that for most of us, when I say us, I mean the women in my community, we look back. I just did this the other day. We look back. I saw this picture of myself when I was, probably 27, 28. And I was like, damn, I look so good, right? Like, I mean, really, like my boobs were perky, my stomach was definitely not, I didn't have what do they call these tummies now? Menopause tummies or whatever. Right? It was different. It was different. It was a different body. But here's the thing. I think I could speak for most women listening, because if they're listening to my podcast, this is who we are. We didn't feel like, I didn't think to myself back then, damn, I have a banging body. I was like, damn, I have to lose weight.
Same. Yeah.
I have to go exercise more, right? Like it was still this self-critical, self-punishing, self-loathing. And for most of us, we look back and we're like, oh my God, how did I think that? I was so cute. I was so whatever. And so it's interesting what you're saying is because we look back because we think if I had that now, I would appreciate it. Right. But really
we think that, yes.
Exactly. But
we think that.
It's like, but really, would you? Because when you had it then, you didn't appreciate it, right? And so I often will, to your point, I often actually encourage my clients to act similar to you. Instead of looking backward, let's look forward about what's possible.
Yeah. Exactly. Because we can use that as the jumping off point, saying, oh, if I had the body that I had when I was 28, then I would feel X, Y, and Z. Then I would be doing X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
Grab those pieces. If you did have that body, talk to me about what would be going on in your life and then write that down. Write that down.
Totally. I love that.
And honestly, listeners, this is why the masterclass is so important, because we don't have the time to get into like all the details about but tell me how, but tell me what's the next step. We're giving you kind of like a high level overview of this. And know that this is literally the first step in your visioning journey. And there's a lot of instruction to happen around how to highly calibrate your vision so that it's a useful tool to you instead of just a thing to kind of tease yourself about. Oh, wouldn't it be great if you had this? There's so much more power behind this. So take all of this as not even a 101, 001. Welcome to the world of visioning.
Yes.
Hang on for this ride. And also come and learn more.
It goes so deep, right?
It does.
Well, and here's the other thing. And Robyn, I think I can say the same for you, but I'll speak for myself. in my level up system that I teach is a system of transformation that applies to whether it's, weight loss, different eating habits, your career, your relationships, whatever it is. My system, vision is the first step. It's number one in my vision, right? I'm sorry, in my system, my level up system. And there's a reason for that, because without that, I mean, it just, it can work, but again, it works in these other ways that aren't usually sustainable. They don't usually feel good. And why would you want to do that?
And oftentimes we go back in our results. Like
totally.
We might achieve something. We're like, oh, I lost that 5 pounds. And then here they are again.
Yeah. 95% of people who complete diets will gain their weight back within 5 years. And usually they gain back more than what they started with. And this is this is an awful cycle that we see, particularly women get sucked into all the time. It's like, okay, let me just try another diet. And then you lose and then you gain and you lose and you gain. And that is truly what I attribute the fact that I have had sustainable weight loss, 30 pounds. I weigh less now than I have ever weighed in my life. And not that the weight matters, but the point is that it's sustainable, right?
And it's not fluctuating. Yeah.
It's not fluctuating.
You're not yo-yoing.
I'm not yo-yoing. And it feels good. Like there's no restriction and deprivation in there. And but the point of that is it's only sustainable. Well, there's a few reasons why it's sustainable, I should say, but there's a reason why number one in my system is vision. And that's because the vision is what makes the difference. And I just left this video for my clients on our channel. We have a private channel together. And I'm like basically yelling at them because I'm like, you guys, like if you are not where you want to be right now, you have to look at first and foremost, are you really engaging with your vision? And that is the very first step for a reason. Is it the same for you in your program, in your expand method?
So my expand method, vision is actually second for me. Or hang on. Yes. The very first step of my method is embrace the ending, because we actually celebrate and honor, hey, the me who's coming, who's on her way, who has this great life, great sense of health, great everything. She just has it all. She's coming. So yesterday's me has got to make space, and we got to say goodbye to her. We got to say goodbye to her gracefully. Yes. Right. So the very first step for us is actually, in my clients, especially because I serve women who are going through major professional transitions. Yeah. But really any transition you're going through, it can be very powerful to bring closure to, hey, this chapter of me and who I'm being and my life that I'm living, we're intentionally choosing to say goodbye to make space for the next version of me. Yeah.
And that is such hard work. It sounds easy, but
I know. And especially people who want change, we're quick to run straight into action. Just tell me what are the things I got to do.
That's it.
Tell me what I got to do. I'll just do it. And I'll just throw it on my calendar and I'll bang it out.
Yeah.
No wonder that doesn't work, right? It doesn't sustain. You might see incremental change for sure.
Yeah.
But you fundamentally have not changed. And this is something actually, we need to mention when we're talking about vision. It's not just like a smoother, easier, just less self-deprecating way to create transformation. Your vision is so important in helping you identify as the woman who has already achieved what she wants to achieve. She's already living the life that she wants. It's no longer, here are the goals that I have to hit. You hitting goals is today's you doing the things.
Yeah.
You stepping into a vision is you becoming a fundamentally more expanded version of yourself.
Yeah.
This is the next version of you. You can think of reinvention. My, new me. This is the new me, not just today's me in a smaller dress size.
Yes, that's exactly it. Exactly it.
Right. Because going back to it. Yeah, when you're talking about if I had my 20-year-old bod today, nothing has changed in here. Nothing has changed in terms of identity, in terms of how we talk about ourselves, how we think about ourselves, how we beat up on ourselves. Yeah. And so whatever body you had, the same scripts are going to be running because you fundamentally wouldn't have changed.
That's right.
Right. And so that's why it's not sustainable, because you have yesterday's you trying to live vision you's body it's not going to match. You will come back to today's you.
Absolutely. That's the default, right?
It's the default. Yeah, we got to switch the default if we have sustained change.
So for folks who are listening to this before December 14th, 2023, by the way, what can they expect, Robyn? If they are like, okay, I definitely want to do this. I want to come to the free masterclass on December 14th. Register leahpinelli.com/TLYC social, or head to my website, leahpinelli.com, and click on the link. What can they expect from the workshop?
They can expect to walk away with a clear picture of the life that they would love to step into from the perspective of their health. Now, we could do like a week-long retreat and do like a full visioning experience.
Yes, we could.
But for this particular masterclass, we are focusing on your area of health. Okay. And we're getting clear as to what is life like in that experience of health. We're not walking away with, here are the goals that I have to hit and here are the strategies I have to go and do. Remember, we're not jumping straight into action. The vision is the foundation for all of this.
Yes.
So for all of you who are listeners of this podcast, for all of you who are working hand in hand with Leah on an ongoing basis, this is going to turbocharge the work that you are doing with her already and being immersed in this content.
Yes.
It can be such a wonderful thing to really get clear on, wait a minute, what do I want instead of what do I not like about myself?
Yes.
So we're shifting.
Yeah. And when Robyn said, you're not going to necessarily lead with a bunch of action steps, action is a part of the system, the level up system.
Yes.
There is a place for action.
Yes.
It's just that, like you said, Robyn, this is the foundation for it. And when we take action that has grown from vision, that has been driven by vision, we get a totally different result than we've gotten in the past. Or we might get the same result, but it's actually sustainable because it feels good because it came from your vision and you started your vision with, what would I love? What do I really, really, really want? What would I really, really, really love?
It's there to stay because it's not something that you like muscled your way into. Like, oh, I made it happen. I made myself drop 5 pounds. I made myself not eat sweets for a week. It's like, that is you. That is today's you forcing today's you to do things you don't want to do.
Yes.
So that external metrics can match up what you think you need.
Yes.
Instead of, wait a minute, this is me becoming a different person who I just love being.
Yeah.
And she looks a certain way, she moves a certain way, she's capable of doing things. She engages with other people differently because she sees herself differently. The vision, what we're going to be doing in the vision is focusing on your area of health in terms of what would you love? What kind of experience of health, capabilities, feelings, when you get up in the morning, when you finish your day at night, everything that you're looking to transform into, we're going to capture that. We're going to build a scene so that you can walk away with, here's a snapshot of what my transformed life looks like and feels like. And then all of you who are coming with that, remember I said there's discontent and there's desire. We're taking all of that discontent and we're really leveraging it to transform it into something that is expansive instead of constricting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to ask that deep question of what would I love instead? And you don't have to do it alone. A lot of times visioning work, if you're doing it alone, especially when you're getting started, can feel like you're just like, okay, you just plopped me in front of like a blank canvas and what am I supposed to paint? Like, what am I going to do?
Right.
So the container of the masterclass will help answer all your questions. It will help guide you from step to step to step to build out this beautiful vision that can actually work for you instead of just be a pretty picture that you look at on New Year's Eve and look at that again.
And that's it, right? Like the vision can work for you. It's not a vision board, although that can complement this process, but it's not just like, oh, I'm going to slap it up and look at it every day and then go on with my regular daily routines. And now you guys, I just want you guys to know, Robyn is a master vision coach. This is her zone of genius. So you do not want to miss this opportunity to get this free training directly from Robyn. And even when you were talking about what we're going to be doing, I was like, I'm so glad that I'm going to be there so that I can participate in your teaching, right? Because it's so freaking good. So Robyn, we can literally record a 10-hour podcast together.
Oh, I know.
So
yes.
I will cut it off here, but you specifically, first of all, you work with women who are going through professional transitions. Can you just talk a little bit about who are the women you serve? And for my listeners, where can they find you?
Yeah, sure. Well,
the people you serve. I just said women. You work with primarily women?
I work primarily with women. Yeah. I occasionally have a couple of male clients coming in there being like, hey, I'm a woman. Can you help me too? Yeah. And absolutely, I'm not going to say no. You identify incorrectly for this program. So no, none of that. Right. My messaging is more toward women because of my own journey and how I came into this work in terms of there's a way in which we come up through society that is fundamentally disempowering in a lot of ways. Yeah. And society is not necessarily set up to empower women. So I choose to focus my work on serving particularly women. Since 2016, when I founded this company, and this was a career shift for me. Before that, I was a project manager in government and military doing technology work. So huge pivot there. Yeah. Because of my own personal story of being in a highly abusive situation. And statistically, I shouldn't be here today. But there was something that happened in me, like with your health journey, like, there's something with my experience that is different from the norm. What happens there and how can I use that to serve other people? For me in my journey, it was getting out of that abusive relationship and not going back to a different one and going on to live a very thriving life. Statistically, that does not happen, right? And so since those many, many years, I've bottled that up. I've put it into my Expand system to help people transform their lives and step into major transitions. This year, I have been focusing specifically on serving collegiate, elite, and professional female athletes with their professional transition because they have a surprisingly few number of resources devoted to helping them when they retire from sport and their bodies are all beat up and they're looking and saying, this is who I've been all my life. Who am I next? Yeah. Helping them with that transition. I still have my core group of non-athletes who are leveling up in all kinds of ways. There's one client in particular. She just left a hugely toxic work environment for another work environment that is just beautiful and so life-giving. Mm-hmm. And now our work is actually on her relationships. So her vision is shifting as we're growing. Yes. The more that we step into the next level of who we are, the vision grows again. And so it's the next beautiful thing for us to step into. I can be primarily found on Instagram and on LinkedIn. Both of those areas are Your Coach Robyn for my handles. Your Coach Robyn on Instagram, and it's Robyn with a Y. So Robyn. Lots of activity on LinkedIn, lots of activity on Instagram. I would love to connect with each one of you. And I would definitely love to connect with you in the masterclass because it's just going to be so much fun. And my intention, anytime I work with someone with their vision, is lots of play, lots of fun, make this super accessible. So it's not a thing you have to do. It's an experience you get to have. And it's truly, we get to play together and you walk out with a tool that can literally change the trajectory of your life.
100%. 100%. It has totally changed the trajectory of my life. I know it's changed yours as well, Robyn.
Yes.
And so many others. So thank you for coming on the Life You Crave podcast today. You guys, all of those links will be in the show notes as usual. But I'm so happy that you came on today. I really hope that that folks heard us loud and clear that it's so about the power of your vision. And and I look forward to seeing you, Robyn, in all of your amazing genius on December 14th at 4 p.m. for our TLYC Social Club and Masterclass. Thank you.
Thank you. It's going to be so fabulous. It's going to be a ball. I can't wait to get into it. And Leah, on a personal note, thank you for showing up and serving your clients in this way, because you are changing their lives. And gosh, like, I know my life has definitely been enhanced since you walked into it.
Oh.
And oh gosh, we need more women like you who are stepping into that sense of service and saying, you know what, here's what I'm here to do.
Right.
And I'm out here serving, and I'm out here growing, and I'm out here expanding all over the place. So it's a pleasure to be on the podcast. It's a pleasure to be in your listeners' ears. And it's certainly a pleasure to be in your world as a fellow entrepreneur and as a woman with a mission.
Absolutely. Thank you, Robyn.
So much love for you, Leah.
You've been listening to The Life You Crave. I lost 30 pounds years ago without dieting, willpower, or deprivation. I'm on a mission to help other women, including you, do the same. You can book a free weight loss strategy session with me over at leahpinelli.com. That's LIAPINELLI.com. See you on our next call or on the next episode. And remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on iTunes.